We're going to look at different social systems or political theories is the study of how societies can organize themselves, okay? And I think God has something to say about this. The first is anarchy. So this is where there's no recognized hierarchy of authority. Authority is bad. We're going to throw off all constraints and just every man for himself, Lord of the Flies kind of thing. Another social structure or system is tyranny, where there's an unreasonable use of centralized power. And what we're going to call the biblical system is an orderly social system where reasonable use of limited authority is exercised, guided by objective truth as borne out and explained in that society's law. Now, I'm going to call this God's biblical design in the center, and then demonic counterfeits on either side. And as we walk through this, we want to look for and listen for things our politicians are saying, policies and laws that are being made that might cause that orderly society to grow and bloat into tyranny or to slide and devolve into anarchy, okay? So let's look a little more detailed here. The worldview underneath anarchy is individualism, meaning the individual is God. What they say goes. There's no higher authority than the individual. The worldview of tyranny is statism. The state is God, and what they say goes, and you can't question them. This is how Christians were treating the government. And this is what happened in Chaz in Seattle. Okay? So the church was acting like that in Washington, while a bunch of citizens were acting like that. Chaos and craziness, right? An orderly system that's by God's design, the worldview is theistic in nature, that God is God. He's over all, men, families, individuals, churches, governments, and he has something to say about how they are to run. As we work down the line here, this demonic counterfeit of anarchy, the social structure then is tribalism, okay? And this is marked by incessant war and notorious instability. This is why every geographical area where tribals rule, it's always devolving into third world country. It never develops into a flourishing first world country. The social structure of tyranny and statism is globalism. So there's an increase of reach and narrowing of power into essentially the oligarchy that runs it. And then in an orderly society, that social structure is nationalism that permits and promotes stability. Now again, we're talking categorically here, not morally, meaning that, can nations be evil? Totally. So depending on the laws that they enact and the things they celebrate and the things they permit, that nation can be more righteous or less righteous, more good or less good. But by and large, nations, as we stated last week, we believe is God's design for large groups of people in society to have the best chance of flourishing. Now, this is really important to understand because there's a phrase getting thrown around today and kind of thrown at you if you're a Christian is, are you a Christian nationalism? And you'll get cornered at work or you'll get cornered in an interview. Are you a Christian nationalist? This is a really funny question. Okay, and we shouldn't be embarrassed by this question. We shouldn't run away. We should step right at this question. You should say, well, what's the alternative? A pagan globalist? A godless tribalist? Like what would you suggest as the alternative? Let's just use the words that you're using. Am I a Christian? Yes. I do not believe I am the highest authority in the land, nor are you. I believe God is the highest authority in the land. Secondly, I believe nations are God's design for groups of people to flourish. Tribalism is notorious for instability and incessant wars. Globalism, I don't want the World Health Organization telling me if I can go outside or not, and neither do you, unless you want to be them, and then I don't like you. So what's the alternative here? Why are we shying away from it? It's like Christian nationalists. The funny thing is, it's like this new term getting thrown around. A book was written in 2007, almost 20 years ago, describing the benefits of Christian nationalism. It's a phrase that's been around. It's getting recirculated, framed as bad, thrown at Christians as a means to emotionally steer them into silence. Don't be so easily steered. Yes, we are pro-nations. We think nations are good, ordered nations governed by rule of law, where the government is doing its job, we think is good for the stability of the world. Okay? Unapologetically. This is the Bible's. I don't want you to be afraid or embarrassed by the Bible's position. The Bible's position on this is clear and helpful for the world, and we should be talking more about it. Inside nationalism, inside a nation, we talked about the three spheres of human sovereignty. There's the sphere of the family, the sphere of the church, the sphere of the civil magistrate. We'll press into that today. Each of those have a specific job. They shouldn't try to do the other's job, and as each of them do their job, the other is strengthened and flourishes. As we work our way down the anarchy side, the authority for the anarchist is the self. Now, I'll clarify this. Whenever we're talking about social systems, we're always asking the question, who has the authority and what power do they have to do what? That's always the question we're asking, whether it's in a family, in a church, or in a civil magistrate. In a family, think about this. Who has the authority to exercise power? The parents or the children? We think the Bible has something to say about that, and oh, by the way, the world does too right now. And it's all upside down. The Bible says the parents have the authority and the power to exercise discipline with the dad leading the way, and the world says it's just the opposite. Every TV show, every cartoon, the dad is the schmuck and the kid is the hero. Okay? So God has something to say. How about the church? God has given the leaders of the church, the pastors and elders, the authority and the power to exercise that authority for the sake of discipleship, rebuke, and purification if necessary. Romans 13, obey those in authority over you in the church, the author says. That's obedience language. That means to submit to their God-given authority and power they have to exercise that, same as civil magistrate. So we're always talking about power and authority, and here's the thing. The Bible tells us authority and power are not intrinsically or inherently evil. They are intrinsically and inherently good. Okay? God is all-powerful, and he is in authority over all, and having been made in his image, we're giving a measure of limited authority and power to exercise his authority and power as creatures made in his image. Now, there's a worldview going around right now, cultural Marxism. The Marxist worldview is authority and power are bad and always wielded for oppression. Therefore, we must disrupt, attack, and overthrow those who are in power. That's the worldview, okay? Do you know what that has resulted in wherever it's exercised? Bloody revolution, and then the scale of power switches, and now those who were oppressed, if they manage to overthrow the oppressors or those that are called the oppressors, now guess what they become? They become the oppressors. So power and authority is only bad if I don't have it. That's what they're saying. If I can get it, now it's good. The assumption is you're evil and only use things for evil, and I'm good, I need more power. That's not, no. Authority and power are not intrinsically bad, they're intrinsically good, but they can be either abdicated or abused. Authority must be stewarded for it to be good. This is a biblical worldview of authority and power. In social systems, they're always answering the question, how are we going to view and handle authority and power? In other words, who gets it and what can they do with it? So in the anarchist, the authority is self. There's no higher authority than me. It's Planet of the Apes, and I reject all authority that tells me I can't do what I want to do. So objective truth lives in me. Here's what you're going to see. This is crazy. As a nation, we're moving away from this middle lane, and we're actually embracing both. I'm going to argue that we are living in the reality of a bureaucratic, administrative, tyrannical state, while that state encourages anarchy in the hearts of its individuals. It's crazy. So the highest authority is self. Under tyranny, the highest authority is the oligarchy, right? All the power is centralized and concentrated in a few, which inevitably ends in abuse of power, by the way. Under our social system that's ordered, the authority is the moral natural law of God in which authority is stewarded, meaning in an ordered society that's theistic in nature, that nation, those leaders recognize that God is the one who is in authority. He's given us specific jobs to do, meaning our job in the family, the church, and the state is to submit to his power, his authority, his job descriptions, and in so doing then, we're stewarding the authority that God's given us, and that's guided and guarded by the guardrails of natural moral law. So in this worldview, the objective truth is self. In that worldview, the objective truth is the desires of the oligarchy and the elite. In this worldview, the objective truth lies outside of humanity in God himself. Hey everybody, Pastor Josh here. If you enjoyed that clip, you can check out the full sermon right here.